Purposefully, beautiful souls. I know it has been a minute since the last time I made a video. I am sorry about that, but on the bright side, I feel like today's topic is really exciting. I'm really excited to share it with you all. I even have my notebook right here because I want to write down everything that I want to talk about. That way I would not forget any information that I want to share with you all. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. So I have my big book out so you will know it is not playtime. We are letting go in this season, okay? In this book, for my notes, like, this is basically just things that I have learned in my process of letting go and moving into this next stage of my life. So I just want to let y'all know, like, I'm not licensed. This is just what I have gone through to help me move in this process of letting go and just finding this new version of myself. So like I said before, not licensed. Anyways, let's get into what I have here, because I also didn't want to forget the messages that I have for you all, like the information. So I just, y'all gonna see the book today. It's okay. Anyways, let's get into it. So I feel that, and I realized too, in order for me to move into the purpose that God has for me, I need to let go of past baggage, past situations, past experiences, right? Because I know that there was a certain point where I didn't realize that I was still holding on to past anger, past hurt, just whatever I went through in my past. And within those moments, because I wasn't aware of the hurt and the anger that I had, I wasn't transparent with myself. And so here I am praying to God, and I'm saying, God, please move me into this next season. And I'm wondering why he didn't move me into that next season yet. But I realized that it was because of the fact that he could see the pain that I had on myself. He could see the anger. He could see the frustration. He could see the sadness. He could see it all over me. And he was like, she's not ready to be moved into that next season yet. And I'm so thankful for the fact that he can see us. He can see all of us. He can see every single part of us and still love us. Because if he would have moved me into the season that I want to be in, I wouldn't have treated that season the way that he wanted me to, because I would have been in the future moving with a past mindset. I wouldn't have been operating in the way that he wanted me to, and he saw that, because he could see everything before it happened. So he saw that, and he knew that that wasn't the right time for me. And I thank him over and over and over again for that, because just thinking about simple things, and I'm like, man, like, if I would have received at that time what I was asking God for, I wouldn't have been able to handle it with the care that he knew it needed. So that's why I think it is so important for us to let go in order for us to really see that next season that God has for us. And while I'm thanking him, since we're on the topic of thanking him, I also thank him for the fact that my healing is not dependent on whether or not I receive closure or an apology from that person that hurt me, or that situation, whatever that hurt me. Because as we all know, that while it is realistic to want to receive closure, want to receive an apology, at the same time, in certain circumstances and situations, it's not always like realistic for you to receive that from that person. Because like, you run into people that maybe either A, they aren't aware of the fact that they hurt you, or B, they're very aware but they just don't want to take accountability for it. And either way, within those circumstances, chances are they are not going to give you a apology, and they're not going to give you the closure that you receive. But fear not, because our God is such an amazing, awesome, loving God. He allows us to move forward from those situations. And that's such a beautiful thing, because could you imagine if we had to wait on them to realize that what they did was wrong? We would be stuck in that same place that they left us. We would be stuck there until one day something occurs out the blue and they're like, wait, I should have actually apologized to that person. And that's also not to say that you're never going to receive that apology, but I think that we need to move forward. And like, sometimes you just gotta forget about that apology, because you may go your whole life without receiving that apology, and you can't let that stop you from the blessing that God has over your life and the promise that God has over your life. Because one thing too, that, and I know it might not really have to do with letting go, but God has a purpose for our life. God did not put us on this planet purposeless, okay? God has a plan for our lives. And sometimes, it's hard for us to realize that, maybe, like, depending on who you have around you, they may not affirm that to you. They may not tell you that. You may go your whole life without hearing that God has a purpose for you, that God has a plan for you. But listen to me today when I say that God has a plan and a purpose for your life. Because when I was growing up, I really didn't understand I didn't understand that message. And even though that, my family instilled love and they instilled believing in God and everything. And I went to a Catholic school and I understood all of that, but I could never fully grasp that God saw me for who I was. He saw me in all, in completeness, and knew everything that I've ever done, but he still said that he has a purpose for me. I know I'm getting a little off topic, but that just came to my spirit that we need to realize that God has a purpose for our life, so we cannot just move about in this life haphazardly. We need to move like we believe that God has a purpose over our life, because he does. We cannot just roam about our lives like we don't know what's coming next. And I know that we don't know what's coming next. I know that, but we have to trust in the fact that God has it. And we cannot rush into this next season because God's not ready for us to be in that season. Because like I said before, I was trying to rush into that season. I was trying to place myself into that season, and I was trying to push myself there, and God was not allowing it. And I'm so thankful for that. And I was trying to push myself into there, and I was getting frustrated, and I was like, well, God, where are you? Because why can't I just get into that season? You know that I'm qualified. And I was not qualified. I was not qualified for that season at all. And so that's just something that I had to get into. I feel like that was very off topic, but I really need to tell y'all that you have a purpose here. So don't not want to let go because you think that that's not gonna, that's not gonna change anything, because God has something for you. So forgiveness is key, especially if we want God to forgive us. We need to forgive other people as well. And so I feel like forgiveness sometimes, some people say that it's a process, some people say it's not, like you can just one and done, let it go. What I will say is that when you are in the process of forgiveness, in this process of letting go, you need to be transparent. Even while you were watching this video, because I know this will happen to me sometimes. Like I'll watch a video or I'll hear something and I'll think of something, but I won't be transparent with myself. So maybe as you're sitting here watching this right now, you might be thinking of a situation that really hurt you, and you know that is keeping you from following in the journey and the destiny that God has for you. And you know that's holding you back, but you don't want to be transparent with yourself and the fact that it's holding you back. So it kind of flashed, like a light bulb kind of flashed in the back of your head, and you're thinking of one situation, but you're like, I'm not even gonna address that with myself. But now's the time. Address that with yourself. Even as you're sitting here right now, grab a notebook, grab whatever you use to get your notes or whatever. Go ahead, feel free to pause it. I'll give you a second to pause it. Alright, I don't know if y'all gonna pause it or not, but I just want to stop talking when you pause it. But anyway, whether or not you pause it, regardless, I feel like right now, as we're doing this, if you want to take some notes and think of maybe you want to think of all the people that hurt you, all the situations that you feel like are holding you back from receiving God's glory. Go ahead, write that down. In this moment, this is a safe space. Be transparent with yourself and what hurt you, because once you're transparent, that is what I feel like is one of the most integral parts of being able to let go. Being transparent about what hurt you. Don't be nonchalant. Because one thing about me, too, is for certain, I have never been nonchalant in my entire life. There is not one moment where I felt like I've been like, I don't care. I always care. And for so long, I wanted to be nonchalant, but that's just not who I am. But with that being said, don't act like, oh, like that's whatever, it's fine, I don't even care, it's just rolling off my back. Because you might be that person where you know nothing phases you and nothing bothers you, and you don't gotta forgive nobody because nobody hurt you, because you don't care enough to be in that situation where you could be hurt, and that's cool. But if you are someone like me, and you know that you care about everything under the sun, and you're trying to act like you're nonchalant right now, I'm gonna need you to snap out of that. Because acting like you're nonchalant, you're not fooling anybody, especially not God. Please do not think that you're fooling God with this whole nonchalant act. You acted like, oh, well, I don't even care, so you can just move me into that next season, God, because I don't even care that he hurt me. Even though, like, deep down inside, you know that that's breaking you apart. Because God can see your heart, so he knows if your heart is broken. And he definitely will not move you into that next season. So I'm just saying right now, please be transparent with yourself, and please write down whatever you're thinking, that way you can pray to God and ask for him to help you in this next season to heal. So I know that I have been discussing letting go in the past tense, but this also applies to the present tense as well, because you may be in a toxic relationship right now, whether it is work, platonic, romantic, and you need to let go of that now as well. You see, you thought I wasn't going to bring up the present, and you're wrong, okay? Because it applies to the present and the past, okay? If you are in something presently that's not serving you, let it go. I know it's easier said than done, and I know that I don't know everybody's circumstances, but if you are able to do it in a safe manner, in a way that will not be hurting yourself, now is the time that you need to let it go. But like I said, please remain safe when you do so, because I know that not every situation is the safest. But I'm saying that to say, because I was watching a video the other day, and it was made by this TikToker, and I need to add their name because I want to give them credit, because that video really changed the way that I viewed things. Because basically in the video, it was saying that we may sometimes, like, we'll have people in our lives simply because of what they did in the previous seasons of our lives. So maybe they helped you through a financial rough patch, or maybe they were a shoulder for you to cry on. And if we're going to talk about it in seasons like TV shows, maybe they were all of that for you in season 2 of your life, and now you are in season 6, right? And you guys really don't have a relationship like that. They're basically pretty negative. They're not really supportive when you talk to them nowadays, but you're keeping them in your life because of that loyalty that you have for them, because of something that they did in season 2 of your life, and now you're in season 6. And what they were saying in the video was that God will use people to bless you. So maybe that person that was in season 2, that you were introduced to in season 2 of your life, that was really there for you, God was using them to bless you in that season of your life. But now here you are in season 6, and God was like, they were only meant to be a season 2 person. They weren't meant to go as far as they have come. They weren't meant to be in all of these seasons with you. They were only meant to be in that season for a couple of episodes. And now here they are on a multi-episode run. That was never meant for them. And in those instances, we need to realize that and be able to let them go, because sometimes we will let loyalty kill us. We will be so loyal to the point where we are staying in a situation that's not serving us, just for the simple fact that we want to be loyal to that person that helped us in one part of our life. And we can't do that anymore. We cannot afford to do that anymore. And I know what you may be thinking, well, how do I know that, they weren't meant to be in this season of my life? How do I know that they were only a season 2, episode 1 type of person? How do I know that? And this is when you ask God, say, God, if this person is not meant to be in my life, please remove them. God, if this person was only supposed to be in one season of my life, please show me that. Because God will answer those prayers faster than I don't know what, okay? I have seen the turnaround time for those prayers, and it is crazy, okay? This is not no type of prayer where it takes a couple of weeks, a couple of days, a couple of months, because I prayed the prayer myself and it was instant. It was an instant answer. So if you want a 2-minute turnaround prayer, okay, it may not be 2 minutes for, results may vary, but if you want a quick turnaround prayer, those are the prayers that you pray, okay? Because God will always tell you when he do not want somebody in your life. He'll be like, you know what? I was waiting for you to ask me. You ain't never asked me for my input on this. And you asked me for my input and everything else, but you didn't ask me for it on this. And I've been waiting to give you my input. They should have been gone season 1. I don't even know how they got to season 2, let alone being in season 34. They should have been out in season 1. So that's all I have to say. If you want a quick turnaround prayer, pray that one. But with that being said, just don't let the loyalty that you have for somebody blind you from the current circumstance that you are in. So if you can, like I said, if you are able to safely leave that, relationship, whether, like I said, it's work, platonic, romantic, if you can safely leave that and it's not serving you anymore, now may be the time that you need to do it. So, now moving on to the next point. So we already talked about, asking God for help. And that's one thing too, is that you cannot move forward. I'm really trying to be like, I'm not trying to say what you can and can't do within this process, because this is your process. But one thing that I know factually that you cannot do, you cannot move forward in this process without God. You can't do it. You cannot do it, because that's not realistic. You need to consult God in every step of the way, just regardless in your life, but especially in this season of letting go. You need to pray to him. You need to ask him. You need to ask him for him to help you be transparent about how you're feeling about certain situations. You need to ask him to help you figure out who needs to be in this next season of your life. You need to ask him to help you figure out the new people that are coming into your life, and you need to ask him for the discernment to be able to discern whether or not this person is only supposed to be in one season of your life or multiple seasons, or if this person is not supposed to be in your life at all. You need to pray to him for the discernment. You need to pray to him for the help. You need to pray to him for the guidance, for the strength, for the ability. You cannot do this alone, so don't even try it. Don't even try to do it alone, because it's not going to work the same. It's not going to be the same. The results of when you try to do something alone versus when you try to do something with God, the results will never ever look the same, ever, because God is always going to do his big one. And even though we may think that on our own we can do our big one, that is nothing compared to what God can do. So don't even bother trying to do it without him. You need to do it with him. I know sometimes we may want to do it without him because we want to do things on our own time, but we need to do it on his time, because he has the divine timing, not us. He knows what's going to happen next, not us. And like I said before, he has a purpose for us. He has a plan for us. So if we want to move forward in that purpose and that plan for us, because the plan that he has for us is better than one we could ever imagine for ourselves, we need to be able to recognize the fact that we need to include him in our time of need, which is right now. Next thing, we have to remember that this process of letting go is a process. You know, like letting go, I mean, the whole forgiveness aspect, you know, it might take you a while to forgive somebody. It might not take you a long time to forgive somebody. But I'm just saying, within the whole forgiving, being transparent, all of that stuff, like it may take you a while to really come to terms with the things that you have been holding on to, and you need to be patient with yourself in that. And also, you might have a method of forgiveness that may work for you now, and then, you know, months later, years later, you may look back and be like, oh, like actually that's not even where I am forgiveness wise anymore. Because like, okay, for me personally, and there was a certain season of my life where I felt like in order to forgive, I needed to then be friends with the person afterwards, right? Or not necessarily be friends, but like now we're just chit-chatting, we're just talking. Like that's what I needed to do in order to move on. And now here I am in my new season of forgiveness, where I completely forgive people, and I completely forgive them. But at the same time, I know I don't need to speak to them. That's just something that I don't need to do. I don't need to force myself to speak to them in order to prove to myself that I forgave them. If I know in my heart that I forgave them, that I did, and I don't have to prove any of that by speaking to them, by, you know, going out of my way to do something for them. I don't have to do any of that. I can know in my heart, and God will know that I forgave, and I know in my heart that I forgave, and that's it. So I just say that to say that it's a process, and be gentle with yourself, because what you may do now and what you may believe now, the more that you go deeper into this journey, it might change in the future. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so my next point is stepping into your faith. Now, sometimes we also may not want to let go of the past because we don't know what the future has for us. So maybe you don't want to leave that toxic workspace because you don't know what is next for God's plan for you. But you'll never know unless you step out on your faith. And that goes for friendships too. You may be like, I don't want to leave this friend group because I don't know if I'll ever make friends again. And you're like, I'd rather just be in this toxic space than, you know, go out and have to meet new people, and now I gotta learn your favorite color all over again and all this other stuff. Same thing with romantic relationships. You might not want to get out of that 8-year romantic relationship where you're at the point where you don't even like that person no more, but you don't want to meet nobody else. You don't want to talk to nobody else. You don't want to go on a first date with nobody else. But the thing is that in order for us to really reap what God has for us, because like I said, God has a plan and a purpose for all of us. In order for us to truly reap that, we need to let go of what isn't serving us. And it is not in God's plan for you to be around people that are putting you down, people that are hurting you mentally or physically, people that are just being negative. That's not what God has in his plan for you. So he's never going to want you to be in that friend group. He's never going to want you to be in that relationship. He's never going to want you to be in that workforce. And also, don't feel like, 'cause I know sometimes people think like, oh, well, I need to do this in order to be a part of this. Just know that if this is what God has planned for you, he's not going to want to hurt you in that process. So say for example, right, you are being completely taken advantage of in your workforce, you're being completely disrespected, nobody is showing any like gratitude towards you at all, like you're just being treated like dirt, like complete trash. God is never going to want you to be in that situation. So don't ever think, well, I have to be here, I have to take this verbal abuse because this is the next step of my plan. That was never in God's plan. That was never in God's plan. So just know that when you are encountering those situations, don't ever think that people can make or break the plan that God has for you. Because a lot of times, and I hear it a lot, that people will be in these situations and then they'll say, well, I didn't want to do X, Y, and Z because I was going to get fired, or I was going to, I wasn't going to get the position for partner that I wanted if I didn't take on this mental abuse, if I didn't take on the constant using that this job has been, doing. The job is using me, they're not even giving me credit for what I'm doing. But I didn't want to leave from this toxic workspace because if I do, then how am I ever going to get there? But going through situations like that, going through circumstances like that, has never been a part of God's plan for you. And nobody can stop the plan that God has for you. So people may even try to blackball you. People might even try to block your blessing, or they think that they're blocking your blessing, but you can't block what God has for someone. Because if God is for me, who can be against me? Nobody can be against me. And that's the thing, and nobody can be against you either. If God is for you, nobody can be against you. So don't let what these people are saying and what they're doing seep into your mind, because just know that they can't block it. So if God wants you to be in that partner position, they can't blackball you. Don't think that you got to do all of these insane things to be in that position, because God is going to make it so you don't have to do not one of those things, and He's still going to have you up in that CEO position. So that's just one thing that I want to say as well. You need to step into your faith with God. You need to stop putting your faith in man and start putting it in God. You have to stop being so consumed with what man will do to you, and remember what God has done for you and what God is going to do for you. So that's just another thing that I wanted to share as well. And also, don't be a bystander to your life. Okay, in order to really move forward in the life that God has for you, the purpose that God has for you, because if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times in this video already, God has a purpose for you. Don't be a bystander to that. Don't sit around and wait for the world to happen. Don't sit around in that relationship, in that friendship, in that job, and wait for the day that somebody's going to snatch you up, that God's going to snatch you up. Take charge today. Leave today. Work-wise, I know that it's not that easy, but relationship-wise, it may not be that easy either. But friendship-wise, if y'all not living in the same place, if you're not, it might not be easy in any situation. But if you can safely do it, if you can easily do it, leave today. Don't be a bystander. Don't think that you have to live this life full of anguish, full of pain, full of dreariness. You don't have to, because that's not the plan that God has for you. So just keep that in mind. With that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I just want to share that with you because I am moving on in the process of letting go, and I want everybody else to do so as well. I don't want to be the only one out here that's letting go and moving on. I want y'all to be able to do that too. So I do hope that you enjoyed this video. I do hope that you are being transparent with yourself throughout this video. And that's all I have for today. Bye.